as you might notice, there's only two of us. Yes, we are all weeping on the inside because Lauren cannot join, but we must persevere. This week, we not only discussed the two biggest races in two different series, but that's about it,
Three,
actually.
dog.
Three?
NASCAR, too.
NASCAR! Sorry, rewind, be kind, I apologize. Three biggest racing series. Three biggest races. We got Monaco GP. We know her, we love her. She's most of the time boring, but man, do we love the drama. We got the Indy 500, which is never predictable, always changes, and literally hits you in the face like a left hook. And NASCAR, our tried and true. Man, is she crazy. You thought the first two? No. Wait till you come to the Coca-Cola 600. Then you'll see some real characters. So, without further ado, Julia and I, we're going to MC this thing, and we're going to get started with Monaco, I guess. Woo.
Heck yeah. It's Monaco, baby. Or, no, that's literally what they said. Monaco, baby! One of the most iconic races. Again, not necessarily the most exciting race to watch every season. I think that's tried, true, clear. But there is just a historical essence about Monaco that makes it iconic on the Formula One calendar, and therefore, I pray she never leaves us. Starting off,
Grandstands of his childhood now rise
for him. It kills me every time. I still listen to it. That's like, you know when you watch a movie because you're like, I need to like feel. I put that on.
Yeah, nothing will ever beat that.
That was one of the best racing commentaries ever, period. No debate, period.
If the fact that he probably, one, came up with that, like, off the top of his head, like, that
on the fly.
But also, like, even if Charles will, or when Charles, because we're going to think positively here, he's back in my nice list, he's off my bad list. When he wins a world championship, I don't even think, like, commentary from that will
beat that. No. Winning his home race for the first time. Yeah, no. But 2025 Monaco GP almost played out how I wanted it to. Did not. Free practice. Charles Leclerc tops the times across all three free practice sessions.
Mm-hmm.
After Ferrari had an abysmal result in Imola, in Italy, with a new pope. Disrespectful.
How?
And it gave my little Tifosi heart so much hope.
And, like, he always shows up and shows out for Monaco. Even when he doesn't win. He always, it seems like he has a little extra oomph behind the...
You can see the want. The rest of the season, questionable. He's like, Monaco, war crimes will be committed for Charles Leclerc's benefit.
I think, was it you that sent me the meme that was like him looking at Lando, and Lando was speaking to the camera, and this was after qualifying, and he's like, either you're gonna let me by or we're both gonna crash. But I was like, chaos, give me chaos, please.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Quick run through of the different free practice sessions. FP1, Lance decides to get in Charles' way, causes some contact, leaves a bunch of debris on the track, red flagging the session, then strolls out because he broke his rear suspension and needed a gearbox change.
Consistent,
I'm not going to talk a lot about Lance Stroll. Yeah, but it feels like he's back in his original form. He is given a one-place grid drop penalty for his naughty behavior. Then we get into FP2. This is my other favorite thing about Monaco, is it's just like crash out, crash city all the time. FP2, Isaac Hadjar clips the barrier in the Nouveau chicane, red flags the session because his rear tire is ripped fully off of the rim. Mm-hmm. And then he later finds the barriers again at Saint Devote. Excuse my French, it's not my first language. I know it on like a Duolingo level. Forgiveness, please and thank you. Oscar also brings out a red flag because he hits the barrier head on at Saint Devote. He does recover to the pits, great. Gets a new front wing, rejoins the session, and then ends up P2 in the times. So crashes out, red flags the session, puts on some new gear, gets back out there, P2. That's
the definition of
go off, Oscar.
Gets knocked down, get back up again.
Gets right back up, doesn't even blink, keeps going. Ollie Behrman, love you, is given a 10-place grid penalty for a red flag infringement during this session. So that man, he knows, because he's in a Haas as well, he knows basically no matter what he does during qualifying, he's probably starting P20.
Mm-hmm.
And then FP3, because we can't have a session without some sort of contact with anything at all. Lewis hits the barrier through Massino and ends up stopping up the car at Casino Square, red flagging it. So that's
it's
free practice.
Like
and again,
the barriers had magnets in them. That was just like drawing the cars to it.
And two, like, we have a lot of street circuits on the calendar. Monaco is a unique one in the sense that, like, anywhere on the grid, you're going to find people clipping the wall, hitting the wall, in the wall, through the wall, whatever, versus, like, Baku. We know it's a street circuit, and it's also a tight one. But, dear God, Monaco is built different. And again, short
the cars
track,
aren't really too big for them anymore.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily the most functional.
Next year will be better, but I'm also hearing how terrible next year's cars are going to be. But
I no longer have any hope in anything.
Yeah. For me, free practice, very often a miss. It's when people get penalties and they crash out, and it's not the bread and butter. I would say for Monaco specifically, who cares about free practice? Honestly, who cares about the race? Qualifying is everything.
Mm-hmm.
We hear it all the time. Will Buxton said it. Every presenter has said it. How you qualify in Monaco is typically
how you
will finish that race. Qualifying was a nail biter. It made me want to kick and scream. Q1,
being a Ferrari
we have
fan
Lance Stroll.
During this qualifying was so hard.
Being hard. Ferrari fan this season
has been hard.
After we were so gaslit. They put all of that promo out. We said the car's going to be good. Lewis is here. Everything's going to be great. Charles is going to win a world championship. No. Now we're talking about potentially replacing Fred Vasseur with Christian Horner. Italy, don't do it.
Lost their mind.
Not do it. Yeah. If that happens, I genuinely would have to rethink my stance on Ferrari as a team completely.
Desperation makes you do and say crazy things. Ferrari is desperate.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily think your team principle is the problem. Do with that what you must. Q1, Lance Stroll, back out again. Noted for impeding Pierre Gasly, which gives him an additional grid place drop penalty on top of his one from free practice. So that's 2 grid places he will lose. And then Kimi Antonelli, towards the end of Q1, crashes out at the Nouveau Chicane, starts as a yellow flag, later gets red flagged, which really screwed a lot of people in terms of the timings. And that leads us to see Bortoletto, Behrman, Gasly, Stroll, and Colapinto knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that sucks the most is, even though Kimi crashed out and ruined the day for everybody else, he technically set a time good enough to get him into Q2. But because he broke his car, he can't actually start Q2, which leaves him in P15 for race day. Then we flip-flop to the other Mercedes, George Russell himself, Q2. This man loses power and just starts coasting the car down the track until he comes to a dead stop in the middle of the frickin' tunnel, which is genuinely one of the worst places you could have a stopped car in the entire circuit. It is so dangerous. Do you remember the video last year from F2 of there's like the slow moving car in the tunnel and then Isaac has to like jerk himself around it?
Yeah.
Which the fact that he didn't hit that car at full speed is 1, incredible, amazing. No wonder why he's got an F1 seat. But like 2, like George Russell, what are you doing?
What, you are a seasoned driver and you're acting like a fresh off the boat.
Toddler behavior from him this weekend. But we will definitely get more into that. This is where I like to give my props to my Marshall baddies. Kaylee and Lauren, my Marshall baddies. Love you guys. The Marshals for this, coolest people ever. Because they literally had to go out onto the circuit and they tell George, like, no, get back in the car. You need to steer. And they push his car all the way out of the tunnel into one of the runoffs.
Heck yeah.
George Russell is out of the session, starting P14. But I think that, like, just goes to show, like, they rocked up. They're like, we're going to push this car. Qualifying, we got you. Don't worry about it. But going. Also, too, like, imagine what a cool experience that is to be like, I literally was touching George Russell's car while he was driving it. Any other driver I'd probably prefer, but still a really neat experience. And then Esteban making it into Q3 and his radio with his race engineer, Laura.
So cute. So sweet.
It was so cute. And I know in the group, we all kind of have admitted it, like, Haas Esteban is a different Esteban.
It shows the glove you have when you leave a toxic workplace.
No, literally. That maybe the problem wasn't Esteban Ocon. Maybe it was Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. Because I didn't like him at all. And now I'm like, ooh, maybe I was wrong about you. I don't know. Maybe also, I think Flavie has been a great influence on him. Because she's amazing and wonderful and kind and beautiful. And he can never do better. Don't ever break up with her. I'm serious. You will not do better. Period. The end. Unfortunately, Carlos, Yuki, and Hülkenberg are knocked out of Q2 with the 2 Mercedes, but that brings us into Q3. The final laps of this qualifying session meant everything.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, nail biting comes into play. We're talking Max. I don't know who Max Verstappen is, never heard of him. Not relevant to this storyline. 3-way battle between Oscar, Lando, and Charles for pole position.
And it's like high of highs, low of lows. Like,
Oscar sets the fastest lap. Lando takes it by like half a tenth. Then you get Charles jumping ahead of Lando with seconds left on that countdown clock. And the whole crowd goes crazy for the hometown hero, thinking, oh my god, he's done it again. Charles Leclerc's on pole.
Nope.
And as the resident Lando fan in this friend group, it hurt my feelings when Lando clocks in a final lap time, setting a 1 minute, 9 second, and then it's like 0.954, which is the fastest lap time ever set in Monaco, securing him pole position. Hated it. I'm a Lando Norris fan. I hated that because the Charles fangirly in me, the girly who first found F1, and Charles was the first driver I ever like actively supported. Charles Leclerc not getting pole in Monaco when he is clearly incapable machinery to do so. There is nothing that hurts more than that. There isn't. Lando on pole, Charles P2, Oscar P3. I sent you obviously the meme where it's like, I'm gonna commit crimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Charles looked legitimately suicidal. I swear to God.
I would be too. This is your home race. Yeah. You won last year. You were so close to basically pre-winning again this year. And this little posh, too big for his britches, British boy comes by and goes, I'm going to set the fastest time at your home race.
Right. I'm also going to, not only am I going to take pole from you, but I'm going to set like lap time history at this circuit. Just so you have to like deal with it
Charles
forever.
Is better than me, because I would have poisoned his drink. I would have given him like Ipecac or like a diarrhea medicine. Like I would have committed crimes. I would have sicked my people to commit crimes. Like Jarvis.
I'm shocked that the crowds.
I mean, not Jarvis.
Jarvis. Now we're in Iron Man. Iron Man did race in the Monaco Grand Prix, so it is appropriate.
Exactly. I would have been like, Joris, I need you to accidentally bump into him, roofie his drink, give him some Ipecac, like...
hit him with a Vespa, I don't care what you gotta do something.
Yeah.
Lock him in a closet for the next 24 hours, figure it out. Throw him in the harbor, I don't care. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bury his body, bang pots and pans so he gets a horrible night's sleep.
And then...
what have you got to do?
Not only do we then have that Ferrari woe of Charles not getting pole, post-qualifying, Lewis is given a 3-place grid drop.
Yay.
Charles Leclerc didn't get pole, so he's not starting at the front, able to get himself clear air and get away. Instead, he's stuck in a papaya sandwich between the two twinks who are at the front of the world championship. And now his own teammate has a 3-place grid drop and isn't going to be anywhere nearby to help him out at all. Charles Leclerc drove the Monaco race on his own, solely on his own, by his own merit.
Mm-hmm.
But onto the race. Monaco is a boring race unless people are crashing. This year, we decided to add in some new rules. Mandatory 2 pit stops, which did a heck of a lot of...
Nothing.
Because, as per usual at Monaco, people are going to crash, and everyone just waited for a safety car to go get a free pit stop.
It was honestly, it was like less than a participation trophy, this new rule. Like, you didn't even earn the participation trophy.
No, it made little to no impact. It was just more confusing of like, this person's pitting, that person's pitting, people are pitting, everyone's pitting, nobody's pitting.
And it felt
people are 2 laps down.
Like with the whole, like Max waiting until, like, yes, granted, typically if we're looking at past history, someone's going to crash. But him waiting until like the last second, just betting on a red flag, risky, sir. Or Mercedes getting, it's only like what, 72, 75 laps? I can't remember, but like
77.
You got 20 laps left and you're waiting until the laps. Why are we not moving forward thinking?
2, with this whole like mandatory 2 pit stops, all that did, instead of prompting the teams to do a better job or have better strategy or people race harder, instead, everyone just drove slower with the intention of, well, if I back traffic up enough, at least I give my teammate a lead to get a pit stop.
Yeah, and it felt very much like...
that was the strategy.
A monkey see, monkey do. Like, V-Carb did it first, and then every team was like, oh,
then Williams.
Why did that work for them?
We're all going to do that.
Do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, let's be original here, guys.
But we did get a virtual safety car because of Bortoletto and Antonelli. Kind of insignificant, don't really care about it. Lap 9, Pierre literally runs right into Yuki. And Yuki, icon that he is, put this on a t-shirt too. Quote, "Is he an idiot? What is he doing?" These two used to be besties. They still are, granted. But like, Pierre, it reminds me of when like Ocon last year like ran over Pierre's car and like launched it.
Heat-seeking missiles is what it's like. And I'm like,
the Alpines are heat. They just are, their cars are attracted to crashing.
And I'm also like, this is not your first year. This isn't even your first year at this track.
Pierre Gasly, quote, says Monaco is one of his favorite tracks.
Why the hell are we running up on people's asses? Why?
Literally.
If you're not only that, at least take him to dinner first.
Real. Not only does he crash into Yuki, he then decides, instead of pulling off somewhere and retiring the car, nah, I can make it back to the pits, as he is dropping debris all over the track, all the rest of the way through it, retires the car, and then we have to clean up the track to make it safe to race. Not only that, before he can retire the car, he gets parked up in front of like the Williams garage and they have to close the pit lane because of it. Pierre Gasly, do better. I know you can. Word of the day for this: traffic. Fernando Alonso. I don't know who has a voodoo charm out against you, bestie.
Taylor Swift.
I don't know, because he parks up in DNFs at the exit of Rascasse.
Mm-hmm.
Car smoking. Power unit shot. Done for. So once again, Fernando Alonso has DNF'd another race in the 2025 season. It's feeling very Lance Stroll-esque.
From Lance's car.
And they put it in his car now.
Yeah. Because Father Stroll is like, well, if my son can't perform well, Fernando Alonso sure can't either.
Can't either. And now we start to get to the point of the race where George Russell's toddler tantrum kicks in. and he is on the radio accusing the Williamses of driving dangerously slowly, and then is bitching and complaining that he doesn't like that he's stuck behind them.
Babe, you parked in the middle of a tunnel. You decided, let me just coast to a stop in the tunnel.
I'm a park right here.
He's acting like he's a second chair. Sir, you are a first chair Mercedes driver. It's time for you to put on your big boy pants and start acting like that.
Right. Like, we're being a baby. So, why are the Williams driving dangerously slowly? Albon's trying to let Carlos get some free air ahead and get that free pit stop. He's trying to back up the traffic behind him to help his teammate out so that the team can score more points. A valid thing. If George Russell and Kimi Antonelli were in front of the Williams, they would have been doing the same thing. George Russell would be expecting Kimi Antonelli to hold off traffic to help him. Yeah. So we get to the Nuva chicane. George ends up cutting straight across it to pass Albon, which is in fact leaving the track and gaining the advantage. He literally just decides, like, I don't care.
I'm done.
I'm just going to do it. I'm tired of waiting. And Mercedes warns him, and they're like, George, you should give the place back. He goes, I'll take the penalty. He's driving erratically.
Yeah.
Which was a terrible idea. And George very much, I swear to God, he pissed someone at the FIA off with that. Because then they gave him a drive-through penalty. Mm-hmm. To which he responds, to be honest, I prefer not to speak. Well, you should have stopped speaking earlier and maybe you wouldn't have gotten a drive-through penalty. But the fact that you brought it up and, like, threw it back at the FIA being like, I don't care about the penalty. Cool. We'll give you a harsher one.
Yep. And also, then Kimi Antonelli being like, well, I guess if George did it, I can do it. And then they're like, Kimi, no.
Don't do it. Just give the place
back.
Which he does.
He does.
Because Kimi learns from others' mistakes.
But, like, why are you doing that in the first place?
George Russell thinks that the lines, the track limits lines for him are actually just a suggestion.
Yeah, no. He's like, these don't apply to me.
Because don't forget, Toto Wolff said that he thinks George Russell is one of the top 3 drivers on the grid. So George Russell thinks that, well, if I'm one of the top 3 drivers on the grid, I should be allowed to do whatever I want. Because that's how that works.
There's so much wrong with all those statements, and I can't. So much.
No, it would make me need to seek out therapy to, like, fully delve into it. So I just kind of am like, this is what was said, and I glaze over it because it's ridiculous. And
it's easier.
Fake news, fraudulent, don't believe it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Backtrack to Max, who is in the lead of the race, but not really because he hasn't done his second pit stop. He knows he's not going to win. He is out here. He knows it's very unlikely that he's going to win. He is out here being like, but I can cause problems for everybody else. Therefore, I will. Holds out to literally the last couple laps. Praying on a safety car. Maybe it'll get him a free pit stop. Maybe then he will win. Or podium. Who knows? But because of this, he clogs Lando up behind him, who has Charles breathing down his neck. Because Charles is literally like, at my home, in my country, you make one mistake, dog, it's mine. Like, I'm taking you out. I'm taking the lead. And Lando gets on the radio being like, where's Oscar? I need him to put pressure on Charles.
Mm-hmm.
Basically being like, well, if Oscar starts riding Charles's bumper, Charles will back off me a little bit and then I can win. Which, I saw people complaining about this. That's just good strategy. That's just smart and correct. That is exactly what you should do in that exact, like, opportunity. Is Charles was looking for every opportunity to try and make a pass, and Lando was starting to make mistakes and knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And Oscar did the right thing, knowing it's not going to risk his race and it's going to help their team, again, secure more points. Brilliant. Lando and Charles got driver of the day, which is so valid. I voted for him. He deserved that. He put in so much work. And I think Lando came in, like, second. Also well-deserved for driver of the day. Because I don't know if I could have handled 70-something laps around that circuit, that tight, windy circuit, with the hometown hero literally preying on my downfall.
Mm-hmm.
The weight of the world. To the end, they fought. But then Max finally pits, which unleashes Lando to run off into the free air, and Charles had, at that point, like, that's when I knew that the race was over. There was nothing he would have been able to do.
Yeah.
Which sucked.
Sad. I would have preferred
Mercedes.
Max to win over Lando, I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, if, like, a safety car or something had come out and Max was able to go in, pit, and still come back out ahead, that would have been the most baller of baller moves ever.
Yep.
And would have made everyone else look stupid.
5-time world champion! Woo!
Circling back to whatever the stupidity going on at Mercedes is, they forgot that it was 2 mandatory pit stops until roughly lap 60. How do you forget that?
Oh my gosh.
You have how many people on your team? And you're telling me nobody had like a sticky note that said pit stop check 1 and 2. Come on, guys. That's embarrassing. You are considered to be one of the like top tier teams, and you can't even remember to make a second pit stop until it's basically almost too late. And now any work that your drivers did all race to try and make things up and go through drive penalties and deal with all of this doesn't matter. George finishes 11th, 2 laps down. Kimi finishes 18th, 3 laps down. And remind you, Pierre and Fernando Alonso DNF'd. So Mercedes was nowhere this week.
A moment of silence.
Our podium would be what I would like to call... I can't say that on the pod, actually. It's so inappropriate.
No.
Podium of my dreams. Put me in a crock pot. Lando, Charles, Oscar together. Charles, again, still looking mildly suicidal, but I don't think I could have asked for a better line.
It was good.
It was good. It was nice to see red on the podium.
It was.
And then the rest of our top 10. This was actually what I preferred. The rest of the top 10, Max, Lewis, Isaac Hadjar, P6 baby, the team they told you not to worry about. Then Esteban Ocon, P7 in a Haas, Liam Lawson. And then closing out the points, Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. So double V-Carb points, double Williams points, Esteban Ocon in a Haas, P7. This is why you should hire more women. This is why you should hire more women, period, the end.
The end.
And that's all I have to talk about when it comes to F1.
Which, 30 minutes to sum up a race, pretty good. I'll give us a pat on the back.
Not bad. Indy 500 is...
chaos.
This is the other thing a lot of people don't realize. Indy 500 is really not only one weekend. It is 2 totally separate weekends because qualifying is its own individual entire weekend event.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the race itself, I think we have to talk about Penske.
The elephant in the room.
Have to.
So, just like we all assumed, Penske is a dirty, dirty cheater.
That's literally what I have word for word on my notes. Dirty, dirty cheaters. Dirty twice. Emphasis.
Are we surprised? No. Am I surprised I got caught? A little bit. Kind of. Seen as Penske owns
considering... Yeah.
A little bit. Didn't know there was honest folk in this work anymore, but I guess there is. Still shows that it's kind of a sham because instead of being disqualified, they were just sent to the back. And they're like...
to the back of the grid.
And then Penske fires everybody. They're like, our hands clean. We're definitely
suspended.
not
they don't work
cheating
here
anymore. Honest folk here, guys. No.
For people who aren't as familiar with IndyCar, Indy 500 is it's kind of like the one event exception to the rule where extra cars are allowed to be run. So you're able to have people who are not like full season IndyCar drivers come and show up and try and qualify. Right.
Kyle Larson, Marco Andretti,
Ed Carpenter.
Yeah. Past racers, and teams who will
show up just for this event.
Yeah.
And so The fact that Josef Newgarden and Will Power are moved just to the back of the qualifying grid after being found to have illegal modifications. So, like, if you had an illegal modification in F1, you are disqualified.
Out of the race.
You're done. And they just get moved to the back of the grid of the people who did qualify, which means the people who, in theory, would have ranked the 2 spots just outside of that qualifying limit, who should have gotten to have those spots, didn't get to race.
And allegedly, some people may have gone to wherever they keep Josef Newgarden's car from last year.
No, confirmed. Penske confirmed it.
So never mind. So Beto O'Rourke, who should have won last year, cheated out of a heartbreaking win, 2nd year in a row, P2.
On the last lap.
Last lap, 3rd corner, coming into the 4th corner, victory ripped away because of an illegal part.
Yep. Because Josef Newgarden and Penske are dirty, dirty cheaters. And that's why we're not Josef Newgarden fans on this podcast. Will Power, we do love you. Again. And like Scotty Mack. Because he's... Or is Scotty Mack at Chip Ganassi? I can never remember. Yeah. I have one brain cell.
Yeah.
But Scotty and Joseph used to be tight.
Buddies, no, best bros. No more.
Either way, irrelevant. Penske, you suck. Hate you. You cheat. The fact that you're getting caught for it. Also, too, like, I'm interested to see how that plays out for the rest of the season. Like, everything is going to be so heavily scrutinized now because if one team's cheating and getting away with it, that means other teams were too.
Mm-hmm.
But bringing Scotty Mack back up, the race itself, he crashes out during the pace lap.
When I tell you...
Horrifyingly devastating to watch.
So there had already been a rain delay. And when I tell you it didn't rain, like, it was like sprinkle. Like, there was no lightning, no nothing. I did still put my rain poncho on because I will not be bamboozled like I was last year. But we had already been delayed. And we were like, oh my gosh, not this again. And then I'm telling you, it wasn't even 2 seconds after it started. And the pace cars, the final Corvette pace car, hadn't even made it back into the pits. And it's like, oh no, car crashed out. Scotty Mack's out on the green. He's out of the race. And we're like, oh, how did this happen?
Many people got up in that moment and said, well, I'm done. Time to go. Because you have people like, they're logging on just for him.
Yep. And when I tell you that set the tone of the race, that set the tone of the race.
Oh, yeah.
It was Oprah style DNFs. You get a DNF, you get a DNF, you get a DNF. Crazy.
I think it was Chaos. 11 DNFs total.
I lost
count. From what
I
saw online, it was 11 DNFs total. Josef Newgarden, after starting at like the back of the grid, makes up a boatload of places and is like actually in the run to...
Or P6, wasn't it?
Potentially be in the lead, yeah. And then ends up DNFing. Karma is the best due to a fuel pressure issue. Which, well, F you, Joseph, sorry. You cheated. This is your penance.
It was glorious. I got to see him walk across and he was irate talking to... I don't know if it was his engineer or whoever, but he was...
But had he, like, actually podiumed after the cheating nonsense, like, that would just be, like... I'm wondering if they sabotaged the car on purpose, because they're like, we actually can't have you do well because it makes us look bad. Or worse than we already look right now. Then, our favorite crossover episode hero, Kyle Larson.
But honestly, Kyle Larson is back on my bad list, because why are you giving Scotty Mack a thumbs up when he crashes out first lap? That's so rude.
That is shady.
So rude.
Kyle Larson, beef did they get into ahead of the race?
This is not NASCAR. We do not act like that. No.
Yeah, but it is funny.
It's funny, but not to Scotty Mack. Now, if it had been...
Yeah.
If it had been literally anyone else except for the people that I cheer for, so Scotty Mack, Will Power, Beto O'Rourke, like anyone else.
If it had been Santino Ferrucci,
I would have been
hilarious.
Like, that's funny. That's funny. I like that.
Yeah.
No, not just Scotty Mack.
But yeah, he crashes out lap 92, and I was like, should I just close my laptop, because his chances, there goes the double-double. Didn't get it last year.
Didn't get it this year.
Already off to a bad start this year. And they were talking so much, the broadcasters were like, and he's got to be out of here at a certain time. He's going to catch a helicopter to the airport and then a jet to Charlotte and then another helicopter to the thing. Doesn't matter. You didn't even make it a fifth of the way through the race. A fifth. It's 500. Oh, no, it's not 500 laps.
200 laps, 500 miles.
Yeah. Didn't make it halfway through. Then our pole sitter, this is the other crazy thing, Prema on pole, Robert Schwartzman, who's a rookie in IndyCar, runs over his pit crew.
Yeah.
That's what he did. He ran them over.
Was it rear? It was either a rear braking failure or a rear suspension failure. I can't remember what it was.
Whatever.
And then the fact he gives the interview, he is so, again, I'm using the word irate because it accurately describes it. He's not even apologetic. He's like, I think one guy's okay. He might have gotten hurt, but something's wrong with the car. I'm like, sir, you didn't even apologize for running people.
Yeah. I'm not going to go like super into it, but like I Schwartzman train. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, slide that over. And then
Rossi, if it's not enough, right? Rossi
caught on fire.
He catches on fire. With it.
He pulls. I think it's because it's so surreal. Being like, he's coming into the pits. Something's wrong. He says it's overheated, and then it just goes up in flame, and he's like hopping out, and then you see him.
You know what?
Throw his gloves. I felt so
that man is just too hot. Shoddy burning on the dance floor. Fire burning. I was waiting to be like, what nonsense is Hinch about to say about this? But they were like, it's still on fire. Like, it kept catching back burning. On fire. And the pit crew people were like so nonchalant and chill about it. They were like, psh, 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 trying to put the fire out. Like, this is normal. It happens.
And then the man, I think one of his pit crew that just has his whole suit side burned, and he's just sitting there afterwards, just like chilling. Just like, yeah, you know.
Just another day at the office. I caught on fire today. Rossi caught on fire. The car caught on fire. Okay. And too, they're like, the fuel thing's not even attached. I don't know what happened, but that is insane. 11 DNFs total by the end of the race. And then, and we'll get into this in further detail, we find out there are 3 disqualifications Monday morning. Because once again, dirty cheaters. Dirty cheaters it works.
I know as of itself would implode if Marcus Ericsson won the Indy 500.
That would have been really bad. That would have been really, really bad optics. And I am so sorry for Marcus because he looked truly like eviscerated by it. But thank God he didn't win. And I know that we're tired of Alex Palou winning everything. I know he is the Max Verstappen of IndyCar, and we just have to get used to it. But
at least it was him and not just...
His first oval win ever, after all of these other drivers have been talking smack on him, being like, yeah, well, he can't even win in an oval. And for it to be at the Indy 500 is, like, that is the hardest serve ever. And first Spaniard to ever win the Indy 500. I like Alex Palou's driver.
I do too.
He is so likable.
He's so likable.
It's just, sometimes it's fun to see other people win.
And that's
granted,
okay.
I get it.
At least he's a nice guy.
Me, all of the last 2 F1 seasons being like, anyone but Max, actually, at this point, I don't care. And now it's become, I'm not going to get on the anyone but Oscar train. I want Oscar to win the championship more than I want money in my bank account. But yes, Marcus Ericsson was in the lead, and then Palou passed him late, taking the win. Felt very Pato Award Josef Newgarden-esque. And then Ericsson is later disqualified for a technical infringement. But bright side, because there's always bright sides, David Malukas, who was already on the podium with a P3. AJ Foyt, are you kidding?
Moves up to P3.
Gets promoted to P3, and then Pato gets promoted to P3 and gets a podium. I can't be mad about that.
It was very bizarre. Like, it's like one of those fever dream Twilight Zones where it's like, I'm not mad that this happened, but this also doesn't feel right. Because how are you?
No. I got literally 3 F1 twinks on the podium, and then I got 3 IndyCar twinks on the podium. Yeah. A girl cannot complain.
I can still complain, but that's okay. I'm happy.
Really very much like for it to be declared that Pato won the Indy 500 last year, but I also understand too, like, remember how he got the like St. Pete win instated because I think Joseph got disqualified after the fact. I think that too, like,
it's a
the Indy 500 is such a special, right? It's such a special race. Do you really want to
your first
win it on a technicality?
Yeah, no,
and not on
and I don't
merit
think
alone.
He would ever be satisfied with that.
No, and then too, like, when he does go and actually win it, because I think that he is absolutely capable. Mm-hmm. It would feel like that win isn't technically the first, so it's not as important.
Yeah. You know, I can't believe we didn't mention it, but the Weenie Dog race and the Slaw Dog winning the Weenie Dog race, the inaugural Weenie 500.
So stupid. So stupid.
Honestly, the highlight, more of a highlight than the actual Indy 500 was the Weenie 500. And I stand by that.
Definitely a lot more uplifting of an event.
So I didn't watch it live, but I watched like a 30-minute clip or like a highlights of it. And like seeing all of the Weenie Dogs in a row, and then the Slaw Dog somehow managed to pass. I think it was the original Weenie Dog. And I was like,
you know what they need to do for the second annual Weenie 500 is they need to do the actual like Weenie Mobiles, and then like somewhere else on the track, not at the same time because like safety, is get like actual like wiener dogs, like
to run
the animal, dressed in hot dog costumes, and make them do a race.
I would love that.
And then let everyone pet the dogs. On like a little tiny puppy track. It'll be like the Puppy Bowl meets IndyCar meets Oscar Mayer Wieners.
I'm so down.
Marketing team.
So down.
Hit me up.
Get on this.
I would happily coordinate puppies at an IndyCar race. Just let me know when you're available.
Do it.
But pivoting to our last series of the evening.
Which NASCAR. I did not watch it. I
did fall asleep during it. I kept checking in. I did fall asleep.
There's this memes page. It's called NASCAR Memes something. I don't remember what the tail end of it is. It has like 2 letters. And what I know from what happened to the race is because of that page. That's it.
Yeah. It was long. It was a very long race.
Kyle Larson crashed
I think it started at like 6. It started at like 6-ish. Probably like closer to like almost 6:30. It did not finish until like after 10:30 p.m. And originally I was considering, because I live in Charlotte and it's like, I could go there. And I was considering it. And then I was like, do I really want to like have to make myself presentable and leave the house? 1. 2, it like seemed like kind of wet out. And I was like, I don't really want to like sit there in the rain if it starts to rain with a bunch of strangers I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then 2, like, if it's gonna finish late, then I'm driving home at like 1 o'clock, like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, in traffic, in an area that I'm not familiar with. Because like Charlotte Motor Speedway is not in Charlotte. It is in Concord. It is outside of the city. So I didn't go, but I did watch, sort of. I mildly paid attention, but then everyone I cared about wasn't doing well, so then I didn't care as much anymore. Coca-Cola 600 is NASCAR's longest race, specifically in terms of like total distance run. So Coca-Cola 600 standing for 600 miles of racing completed. I forget how many laps that works out to. I think it's like 3 something, maybe 4 something. It's freaking long.
It's long.
Like, oh my God. And 2, like, I feel like these 3 races all happen on the same weekend because it's all the same vibe. It is crash outs, it is yellow flags, it is cautions. Like, every time they would go green again, there would be another caution. Every single time. I'm like, you know what? Just keep it yellow. Let's finish the race under a caution.
It was a lot.
Kyle Larson
Karma
did qualify well. And race starts. He's battling Briscoe for the lead, which opens the door for Byron to go 3 wide and take the lead in lap 2. However, not for long. Kyle Larson does take it back later on and kind of starts setting the pace for stage 1 until he ends up clipping the wall while in the lead, a lead that he had by a few seconds. Yeah, he hits the wall and then loses control of his car, spinning out, apparently puts it back on track. Terrible weekend to be a Larson fan, because later on in the actual race, he does DNF.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you flip off or like thumbs up Scotty Mac. Shouldn't have done it. And then our boy Bowman, like, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, he's running 11th. That's awesome. Like, perfect. End of stage 1, catches the wall, spins out, causes a caution. So Byron does win stage 1. Fine by me. I'll tolerate it. Stage 2, we start with a multi-car incident. Kyle Busch spins out, Byron dominates stage 2 again, and then Blaney, Suarez, and Briscoe run 3 wide. Suarez and Blaney wreck out and take Kyle Larson with them.
It was almost
race
too many
over.
crashes for me to like actually fully digest it all. It was like I can't. It's too much.
It's also like the thing that I always struggle with NASCAR or IndyCar is it's so many cars that it's much harder to keep track of. And then when you have such a like high volume of people like crashing out, you're like, I don't know who that was and I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes harder to form like an attachment. You might form an attachment to like one driver or 2 drivers, but it's different with like F1 where it's like I could name you every single driver on the grid easily. And then tell you every single engine that's in each of their cars. I don't know if I have the mental capacity to do that for IndyCar and NASCAR.
Nope, not even close.
But
not even close.
Stage 4, Hocevar blows his engine, so no more riding the Dente, ends his run. Denny Hamlin's fighting for the lead, ew. But then his team didn't put enough fuel in his car, so he had to go back into the pits.
Which is just like, I mean, not mad, and then but like...
Not gonna complain, because we were in such a rush to get him back out of the pits that we couldn't take the extra second to make sure the car was properly fueled. But I digress. Ross Chastain, with 6 laps to go of the race, takes the lead, wins the race. He literally basically from last place to first place started 40th in his backup car.
Which who doesn't
not even his like you love that's your whole vibe. It's also Trackhouse's first win for this season. Yay. Unpredictable. I could not have told you. I would have been, if you asked me at the beginning of the weekend, I was like, well, I hope that Kyle Larson wins or I hope that Alex Bowman wins. Neither of them did. I don't know much about Ross Chastain. Congratulations. Power to you. Way to make everyone else look stupid. But we do all still need to plot and plan a NASCAR trip for the 3 of us because I want to go. Bristol.
For sure. Not opposed.
Last Great Coliseum.
Not opposed.
It is Kyle Larson's wheelhouse, if you excuse the pun.
Make sure
he's a pretty dominant force there. Yeah, get some earmuffs.
Get our little headsets, our scanner.
Be good race report bonding. I feel like this is what we need to do for like 2026 season. We need to make sure that we select at least like 1 IndyCar race, 1 NASCAR race, and 1 F1 race to go to. Yes. That should be the goal.
For sure.
If we can. Am I poor and dreaming? Absolutely. But do I think it's achievable, attainable? Also, yes. It's hard to like pick which race I felt more like inclined towards. I think I enjoyed F1 qualifying most. And then like IndyCar race second.
Since I didn't watch F1 live, I'm going to say Indy 500 because again that was the only one I watched live. But I like the variability the Indy 500 and also the Coca-Cola 6 gives you, comparatively speaking, to Monaco. Yeah. Like Monaco, yes, great race, big race. It just doesn't have very much variability. Whereas just looking, you never know who's going to win.
David Malukas was P2.
P2. Like
Right. Versus at least with Monaco, we're expecting like who's going to be on the podium. It's either a Red Bull, a Ferrari, or a McLaren.
Yeah.
And we knew that from qualifying. Whereas, like, did I expect that Marcus Ericsson was going to get disqualified? No. Could not have predicted that one. But sure made things interesting.
Sure made things interesting. But hey.
But I think that sets us up. This week, upcoming is Barcelona. I believe potentially Detroit. The last time in Barcelona for at least a while, because Madrid is supposed to replace it, and I think that that's actually like a serious crime. And then Detroit, that's IndyCar.
Yep.
And I don't remember if NASCAR's
racing this week.
This week. I'm Googling. Next NASCAR race. Friday, May 30th. Oh, that's the Truck Series, Cup Series. Sunday, June 1st, Nashville Super Speedway is this weekend.
Didn't know that. Yeah. Oops.
Missed opportunity. We could have gone to that. But.
Ladies and gentlemen, people of the crowd, listeners with ears, listeners without ears, lip readers, we don't discriminate. We love everyone here. We have a lot of emotions around these three races. Some injustices, some justices. If you're a Kyle Larson fan, bad week to be a Kyle Larson fan. Bad week to be a Ferrari fan. Bad week to be a lot of fans for a lot of people. Great if you were a David Malukas fan. So if you were a Pato Award fan, didn't quite pan out how we wanted to. I digress. Great day to be a Alex Palou fan. Or I guess a Lando Norris fan. Or a Ross Chastain fan. You know? For the odd man out, it was great. We'll get a next time team on the back. Glad no one died. Go big team, woo.
Oh, God. And that's that.